Rhetoric, the study of intentional communication and its impact on a given individual or social group, is concerned with persuasion. Now, people can be persuaded through many ways, from the logic behind the message, to the emotional response felt by a message, to the timing of a message, or even to the character of a person giving a message. One who studies rhetoric will sooner or later find that communicating effectively, whether that means getting something you want, changing a person's actions, or altering a person's belief system, requires an in-depth knowledge of how individuals and groups are persuaded. Aristotle, one of the most significant forefathers in the history of rhetoric, knew a considerable amount about this, and it is from his writings that we largely draw our current understanding of appeals and definition of rhetoric. Speaking of definitions, let's see Aristotle's. Quote, "Let rhetoric be defined as an ability, in each particular case, to see the available means of persuasion." End quote. Rhetoric is an ability to understand the audience and use whatever means necessary or appropriate to meet your end. Over the course of history, there have been times when rhetoric has been used for good, and there have been times when rhetoric has been used for bad. But, to evoke the spirit of Aristotle, we should not blame rhetoric, we should blame the user. Rhetoric is not inherently good or evil, but rather is a method of communication that can be applied to a variety of situations. Okay, so let's fast forward to our current cultural context. More often than not, we are the receivers of messages and not the givers of them. While we are given a multitude of ways to communicate our thoughts and opinions, the fact of the matter is that unless we live in the mountains with no technology or civilization, we receive more than we send. It's important to note that in Aristotle's definition, seeing the available means of persuasion does not only apply to the speaker and the ability to persuade the audience. No, it applies to the audience, the seer, the listener of the message being communicated. For Aristotle, a good rhetorician was not only able to convince an audience, but was also able to think critically about the messages they were receiving as an audience member. We live in a world that constantly bombards us with images, and words, and audio, and video that try to get us to do something, and more often than not it is to buy something. Most of the rhetorical calls to action we encounter revolve around economic exchange, and the social or material image that results from this exchange.